What possibly is the biggest transfer of this summer transfer window. Despite Xhaka's best efforts, Alexander Isak signed for Liverpool. We heard from Newcastle yesterday. This is what Isak had to say. I want to express my gratitude to my teammates, the staff, and above all, the city of Newcastle, and all the amazing supporters for the 3 unforgettable years we shared together. Together, we have written history and brought the club to the place where it truly belongs. It has been an honor to be a part of the journey from reaching the Champions League to winning the first trophy in over 70 years. Forever grateful. Thank you, Newcastle. All right, well, for more on this, let's welcome in Jan Fjortoft as well as Stuart Robson for this one. Craig, let me start with you, though.
Let's start with the hypocrite.
What?
Who's that?
Xhaka. No.
What did I say? I just said that.
No. I mean, spare me the statements. Just spare me. Just go. Everybody knows how you've acted. Everybody knows what you wanted. Everybody knows what you have got. But spare us the sob story, because the Newcastle fans don't care. In fact, they'll despise him now. Am I right in saying that, Shaq?
Absolutely.
Yeah. When he turns back up there for Liverpool, he is going to get it. Now, he probably won't care. Like most of us, we don't care if we get stick from opposing fans or former clubs. It's part and parcel. But spare me this statement that is going to sort of wash away some of the nonsense that he has been part of during the summer. He's got his move. He went about it all the wrong way, in my opinion. He was very unprofessional, but it forced the hand of both Liverpool and of Newcastle to allow him to go, because they eventually got the money. And the situation between them in terms of the relationship was broken. So I don't know about the rest of the boys. I don't want to hear this from players, to be honest with you, particularly ones that have worked their ticket to get out of a football club. So that's what he cares about, Newcastle, not what he said in this ridiculous statement.
I have a feeling I'll echo the sentiments of the other two gents on the panel, because we're from a similar era of this game where this was not a thing. That being said, all of a sudden, it has become, and players make statements. You saw Newcastle put out theirs yesterday, which is kind of very matter-of-factly, he's gone, thank you very much, goodbye. And Alexander Isak, and again, it's part and parcel of today's game. As statements go, it's not a bad statement, but to Craig's point, nobody of any interest or any who have paid any attention or are at all involved with Newcastle from a fan's perspective, or certainly a staff or management perspective, sees any value in this. You push this hard for a move, you stay away, you act as you do, you get the move. Don't try to sugarcoat it now. Nobody's falling for that at all.
Well, when I think of a true gentleman, I think of Stuart Robson. He would never do this, Rob. But what do you make of how it all went down and Isak's comments now after the fact?
Well, I don't like the comments. There's no point with the comments, because he's left. He's joined a new club, and get on with the new club. But I think everybody's got a little bit to blame here. Liverpool, first of all, they obviously sounded him out first of all, when they probably shouldn't have done. Isak then knew what they wanted him. He probably wanted to go. Well, he definitely wanted to go to Liverpool. He probably made it clear to Newcastle that he wanted to go. But I don't excuse Newcastle either. Newcastle, and I don't trust football clubs at all. Football clubs and loyalty, it's an absolute load of rubbish. They don't treat players particularly well. And I'd imagine Newcastle, when they knew that Isak was going to go, they wanted to get as big a fee for him as possible. He never actually went on strike. Newcastle and Eddie Howe said that he wasn't in the right frame of mind to join in with the other players. He never went on strike, which people keep saying he went on strike. He didn't go on strike. So I think Newcastle played a clever game. They always knew he was going to go. They kept on saying and turned the fans against him. He wasn't ready to play. His attitude wasn't quite right. All these sort of stuff. But they knew at the end of the day they were going to get all the money, and they were going to not be seen as a selling club. We just, in the end, couldn't keep hold of a player that wanted to go to Liverpool. That's how they've made it seem. And I think they've got a lot to blame as well for what's gone on.
I disagree here, Robbo. Isak left.
I'm sure you do.
Isak left during pre-season.
Football clubs are great.
Hold on. Isak left during pre-season to go and train with Sociedad. Is that a done thing? Is that a player acting normally? I don't understand.
Because Newcastle didn't want him to train with them. Because Newcastle wanted to get rid of him. They knew they wanted to get as much money as they possibly could.
Which is right. He's got 3 years to go.
Didn't allow him to train.
Which is
if you couldn't train with Newcastle,
Newcastle wanting as much money as they could get is their right. He's got 3 years left in the contract. That's why players and clubs sign contracts. No, I'm with you. 9 times out of 10, I'm with the player. I am not with the club. But how does a player signing a contract with still had 3 years to run?
Signed a 6-year deal.
Signed a 6-year deal. He had 3 years left to run. Goes off to train with Sociedad, his former club, while Newcastle are in pre-season. Eddie Howe tries to sugarcoat it. Eddie Howe tries to kind of deflect some of the blame. And all of a sudden, he's at fault, the club are at fault. Absolutely not. If you are determined to get your move today, then sign a short contract. Don't commit to 6 years. Sign 3.
We will later today.
You've never played at a club.
Go on, Robbo.
You've always been treated well by clubs. Clubs have never been disloyal to players. And that's what happens so many times. I've seen it over and over again. I've been in the situation as a player. I've been in the situation as a coach where we try to get rid of players and we try to turn it in our favour and say, well, the player wanted to go. When really we didn't want the player, but we didn't want the crowd. We wanted to get the crowd on his back. That's what happens in football clubs. And that's exactly what Eddie Howe and the Newcastle board did at the end, or when they realised they weren't going to be able to keep him, we'll turn the crowd against him.
Anyway, I don't think anybody really has come out of this smelling of roses, particularly the player. But welcome to the show, Jan Agafioto.
Jan, let's hear where you stand in this.
Well, it's an interesting discussion because we've seen the transfer windows which was very special because, yes, we can discuss this. I was up in Newcastle. I had conversations with clubs. I had people in and around. Yeah, there was some reports that was wrong. For example, that Isak didn't come in to train. He come in to train but didn't train with the team. And there were different kind of reports. But what we've seen this window, we had Isak who wanted to force a move. Sorry, Robbo. We had Vissa who wanted to force a move. We had Martinez who didn't play the last game because he wanted to go to Manchester United. Things like that happened. They were all winning this transfer window. People like Gay at Crystal Palace and even Jürgen Strand-Larsen. Jürgen Strand-Larsen, people thought that he didn't play because he faked the injury. Today he went home for the national team because he had the Achilles problem. He won't be with Norway for the 2 next game. So it's quite interesting. I'm with Stuart in the terms of sometimes we make it black or white. It's not even with Newcastle is black and white. We don't do that because you are 100% right. There are times when a club want players to go out. Then the fans will say, yeah, he's not good enough, so he should leave. We had in Germany Roman Weidenfeller, Shaka, the Dortmund keeper, been there for 100 years. He came in and suddenly had shirt number 49 or whatever. I mean, that happened all the time. What I don't like is this thing that, and I think that will be a big problem in the clubs if we're going to allow players to go to strike. Okay, we can define it, Robbo. But I mean, later today, we are talking about the best manager in the business, the best agent in the business, the manager of Jackson, who got him a deal now at Bayern Munich. But the agent of Isak, if you sign like a 100-year contract at Newcastle without the clause, and then 5 minutes later you want to leave the club, you haven't done a good job.
This is how conspiracy theories work. There's already some suggestions in the North East, and not just from, people online that really have half a brain cell, most of them. But, even from some journalists, when they look back, and I'm not suggesting this is true because I'm not into conspiracy theories, but they're even suggesting that Alexander Isak's form or desire and attitude towards the end of the season was not what it was at the start of the season because he felt that Newcastle's gaining entry into the Champions League was going to make it more difficult for him to actually leave. Whether that is true or not, I don't know. And I just think this whole thing has opened up this can of worms. And it's not the only one this year. We talked about it the other day. Vissa, I think, has had his issues at Brentford before his move. We saw Gyökeres go on the missing list at Sporting Lisbon, much to the irate of the president of Sporting Lisbon, who was sort of stamping his feet and swearing at Arsenal and everybody else. So it's whether Alexander Isak has done the things that have been suggested or not, this is a common theme now within the game, that players are tending to, and is it any coincidence they're all staying away? None of them are coming to the training. Players are now starting to force a move. And I agree with Robbo in a sense that clubs will just use you and abuse you. That's what football clubs do. They've always done it, and they always will. You're a commodity, and as soon as you're not a useful commodity, you're out the door. You're out the door. I mean, we see players with issues with doping and other stuff, and clubs won't sack them because there's no morals. They'll let them see out their ban, and then they'll try and sell them because they're an asset to them. So when they're an asset, they will try and use you, and when you're a liability, they will just throw you to the wolves. So this thing goes on. The whole point is, it's been a bit of a mess from the start. Whoever's to blame, Liverpool, Newcastle, Eddie Howe, Isak, it's been a mess. The player has moved on. He is the villain in Newcastle's eyes. And let's see the most important thing here is, what can he do for Liverpool? Is he going to be the deal clincher between them lifting the title again and seeing off, which could be a very intense chase from Arsenal? Who knows? Is he going to be the difference along with Etiquette and one or two others? Or is he going to struggle at Liverpool under the weight of the pressure? That for me is going to be the interesting thing.
Here's the thing for me. I'm kind of going back to this contract situation. And while, listen, I have been subject to football politics as much as anybody. I've had my issues. I think what you see, and which Jan raised and Craig touched on, with players kind of going missing. Let's just call it that, to force a move. Gyökeres, good example, comes out with a ridiculous statement today saying that when players want to move, they can't do anything. Clubs hold the power. No, I disagree. Whenever a club might want to get rid of a player and take actions to get rid of that player, but if they can't, they have to keep paying that player. Jadon Sancho is a perfect example. Manchester United have been trying to ship him out for years, and they can't. And he can turn down loan moves. He can accept loan moves. They have to keep paying him, at least until his contract runs out, and then that's the end. I think what you will see now, and kind of given the examples, the high-profile examples of going back to, I remember the pre-Bosman ruling days, pre-1998, where the clubs held all the power, and that was taken to court, and there's been a shift. Now kind of looking at how, at the very least, this summer has played out, players, even under contract, are now holding a certain amount of power, because finding a player 2 weeks' wages in today's game makes absolutely no difference. It has no impact at all. So now, if I'm running a football club and I'm signing a big name player or spending a lot of money on a player, there'll be clauses in there about their actions if they stay away, their actions if they don't show up for training or they're unexcused, that will put the power back in my hands. So either clubs take that responsibility up themselves, or the league or the law courts need to do something.
You go back to that Bosman ruling, which changed the whole face of how players were treated and how players came and went under the European Union and under European law of I don't know exactly what the terminology is, but employment rights. And when your contract used to finish, as the boys will all know, your contract was up at a club, the club still held your registration. Yeah. And the Bosman ruling changed that. And for example, yesterday we saw a scenario with Mark Gay possibly going to Liverpool, and this is the sort of juxtaposition that players, clubs and managers are in. Mark Gay, one of the best defenders in the Premier League, certainly one of Palace's best players, has 1 year left in his contract. Crystal Palace are sitting on 35 million, but Oliver Glasner's saying, I'm going to walk out here. If you don't get me a replacement and you sell Mark Gay, I'm going to walk out. So the player has certain amounts of power now. The trouble is, when you sign a 6-year contract with no get-out clause, as Alexander Isak did, it can become as messy as it has.